Hey, how's it going, everybody? Shaun from Zoobox doing another movie review today. Oh, what a day it is, everybody. I watched Dick Tracy this morning. Haven't watched this in a while. My son's almost 3. I said, it's time to watch Dick Tracy, buddy. It's probably been about 5 or 6 years since I've even looked at or thought about Dick Tracy. I bought it a couple years ago, and it just kind of been sitting on my shelf, waiting to be reassessed. And today was the day. So, Dick Tracy came out in 1990. The reason why I kind of got greenlit was because of Batman 89 and that whole kind of the resurgence of comic booky things. People were just looking for unique properties. If you don't know, Dick Tracy was like a newspaper comic strip, like it was a serial that would be doled out through the week or every weekend. And it was also a radio show back in the 40s about the detective Dick Tracy. And this was Warren Beatty's kind of passion project. He had wanted to do a Dick Tracy movie for a long time. I think at some point he wanted to get somebody else to direct it, but ended up just doing it himself. But because Warren Beatty was Warren Beatty, excuse me, especially in the early '90s, there was, he had a lot of clout. He had a lot of pull. He was able to pull together a pretty impressive cast. It has himself, Warren Beatty. He also directed this as the titular star, Dick Tracy, Charlie Korsmo as Kid. Then it just has a whole slew of other people that they did not put in any good order. William Forsythe's in it, Al Pacino, Madonna, and then the list goes on. Tons of other people. James Keane, Seymour Cassell. Bunch of just great character actors from the, 70s and 80s. The Madonna one is the funniest one because I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe Warren Beatty and Madonna were a thing, were an item, like right before this movie and right after. She is definitely, I understand why you cast her, but she's kind of bad in this movie. Madonna had done a few movies, up to this point, but a great actress she is not. And, so just in general, my general overview of the movie, just off the top of my head, is that Dick Tracy is. I like a lot of things about Dick Tracy. I like a lot of elements in Dick Tracy. I like some of the performances. Even they're really big. Nobody's bigger than Al Pacino in this one. Usually people to point to heat, but maybe what's his name, Babyface in this, or he nobody's kind of a bigger presence than he is in this movie. But everybody else is having fun. Everybody's having fun. Dustin Hoffman's also in this. He has a great little bit part. They just seem like they're having a great time with their friend Warren Beatty making a weird movie, because it's got such a great kind of production design and the way the colors and the lighting and the way they use kind of shooting on a studio backlot was obvious, but it looks cool. It gives it a unique vibe. It makes it feel like something that would have been produced, in kind of the contemporary time of Dick Tracy. And it gives it a cool feeling, and a cool tone, a cool edge. The problems that Dick Tracy has are all narrative problems, and I think a lot of this lies at Warren Beatty's feet, as a director. It's just kind of a clunky movie, It feels just like scenes kind of just crashing into each other without really building a proper narrative or proper arcs. The only arc that really works in the movie is between Dick Tracy and his girlfriend Tess. By the end, you understand why they end up where they do at the end of the movie. But everybody else, it kind of just feels haphazard. Like he has this relationship with this orphan kid that he saves from a disgusting rail yard homeless guy that they live in their rail yard shack. And they have like a relationship where they're trying to build something. It just doesn't really work, I don't think most of this movie works. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but it is like entertaining. And a lot of that has to do with, like I said, like just the visual design. Just a lot of cool stuff to look at, really. Just the colors themselves, the way everything pops, and like everybody wearing like these kind of primary bright versions of primary colors up against kind of neon lights and stark matte paintings, and it's just cool. It creates a very cool vibe, and it makes it very watchable. I think even my kid he's 3 years old or about to be 3, and I think that really kept catching his eye. So there definitely is some power in that for sure. The narrative itself, like I said, is just it's so muddled. It's so not all over the place. It's just like it gets boring. It gets boring because you're not invested in anything. You're not really invested in the actual plot. You're not really invested in the characters. Madonna is kind of bad and also distracting. Like I know what they're trying to do. She's like the noir femme fatale, comes to the detective's office and, makes a bunch of innuendos and then she goes missing. And so they kind of play with that type of dynamic in terms of what her role ultimately ends up being. But it doesn't really ever work in totality. It never really justifies everything else. It just doesn't make sense a lot of times. And you just get bored because of that. You just don't feel the pieces building towards the things that happen. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm being too harsh or something, but I was super not disappointed because it had been years and I had like sense memory of it. And what I remembered was the visual stuff. Back when I was a kid, this was a favorite of mine. My dad just like came home with the VHS tape one day. Back then we were really poor and VHS tapes were expensive. So it was kind of a big deal. I remember I had to clean my room if I wanted to watch Dick Tracy the first time. And my room was a pigsty. It was a total mess. Then it took me like 8 hours to clean my room because I was just so apathetic and being so slow about it, in the way that kids do, So I can't say that Dick Tracy is totally worth your time, but there is something if you're just into like production design, if you're into like kind of visual stuff, it's a very cool looking movie. And the music, it's got like the 90s era Elfman superhero score. For lack of a better way to put it, it feels very much like his Batman 89 score, which makes sense because he probably did these about back to back or very close to each other anyways. And Dick Tracy's a funny thing because they've just never really wanted to let go of the rights. I think Warren Beatty in particular, because they did the same thing that Roger Corman did with Fantastic Four in the early 90s where he made a movie he never intended to release. They did that with Dick Tracy. It's what is it called? Dick Tracy's Special TV movie. I think you can find it online, but I don't think that you can. There's no like official way to watch this thing. It's a very weird thing. I don't know why he's like so attached to it. He's just had intentions to do something again with Dick Tracy for a long time. And if I remember correctly, this was not a complete like bomb or anything. I'm surprised Dick Tracy didn't become a franchise or have at least a sequel. And I would have liked to have seen that. I would have liked to have seen the same cast, the same kind of visual style, come back again, and maybe with a different director in the helm, maybe somebody who had, I don't know, just a little more skill, a little more familiarity with how to do things like this. It was weird. The 90s were weird. There was a slew of movies that were like based on old serials and radio shows. They had the Dick Tracy came out. Then a few years later, it was The Shadow. And then they did The Phantom with Billy Zane. And Billy Zane's the fucking coolest, right? I kind of really love The Shadow though. It's super flawed. I watched it a few months ago. Maybe I'll watch it again and talk about it at some point for this, but I have a real soft spot for The Shadow. I don't know why. I just fucking loved The Shadow when I was a kid. I saw it at the drive-ins, so it's probably, a lot of it's just nostalgia. So when I watch The Shadow, I get transported back to simpler times. Yeah, but watch it or don't, I guess. That would be my recommendation. If you're just curious about Dick Tracy, you've never seen it, or it's been a long time, you might have fun. You might have fun watching it. Yeah, because I can't think of anything other really good to say about it than the performances are fun, and the visual style is really cool. It's directed kind of flat. There's some cool shots. There's definitely some cool stuff because they were playing with, noir stuff. But the construction of it, just I don't know. Maybe they just had a bad script or just something happened. Something happened. It feels very disjointed and very piecemeal. There's just something weird about it. I don't know. I don't know the production history. If anybody knows any of the hot details on Dick Tracy, let me know, because this thing is bare ass bones. They have never done anything special with Dick Tracy as far as I know in terms of a release. Like, this would be a great thing to scoop up and somebody do like a documentary about the making of Dick Tracy. I bet you it has a super interesting kind of road to being made. So I'd like to see that someday. Wouldn't you? Of course you would. You always agree with me. You there. Yeah, you agree with me. Of course you do. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you would like to know more about Zoobox, you can check us out on Facebook and at Instagram at Zoobox Podcast. And if anybody wants to make a request, want me to watch something and review it, just drop it in the comments. Let me know, and I will probably get around to it. I will watch almost anything. Almost anything. All right, everybody. Goodbye.